At this time, I would like to turn today's program over to Darren Cunningham from Informatica. Darren, you may begin.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. This is the last Informatica Cloud webinar of the year. We've had a pretty busy schedule, and we're really excited about today's presentation. We're talking about a topic that is very familiar, I think, to most of you, if not all of you. It's certainly very familiar to the industry now as more organizations move to cloud-based applications. This challenge of how to really get your arms around all these apps, make sure you are really maximizing the return on your investment by having that single view of your customer and really making sure you have common data and shared information across these applications. So today I have two distinguished presenters with me. I've got David Lyle and Mark Murray from Informatica. They're going to be really diving into some concepts. Dave is the author of the book called about lean integration, and he's going to talk about some of the concepts and some of what he's seeing around cloud application adoption and the opportunity for integration in this area. And Mark Murray is going to be talking through a case study as well as really diving into a demonstration of Informatica Cloud in action. So let's dive right into today's presentation. So first of all, you'd be sitting there thinking, well, what's so different about the cloud? Haven't we seen this movie before? We've seen silos emerge. We've seen this need to really standardize and consolidate information and deliver one truth across the business. Well, what we're seeing here is, the big difference now is a lot of adoption of cloud applications and platforms over the last 5 years, if maybe even 10 years, has been driven by the business. And whether it's subscription pricing, whether it's ease of implementation, ease of use of the applications, CapEx versus OpEx, there's a whole lot of reasons that really spawned the adoption in the business side. But I thought this recent article from ZDNet summarized it quite well. That cloud decisions are no longer in the IT department's hands. The suits have taken over. Now, that represents both a challenge and an opportunity. You try to really align with the business if you're coming from the IT side. And as you can see here from some of the statistics that are coming out, end-of-year forecasts and such, ID is saying this phenomenon is not going away. In fact, it's going to accelerate. SaaS funding will grow by 105% between 2011 and 2015. So the question you have to ask yourself is, are you going to get on this train or are you going to get run over by this train? And we have an opportunity as you become a cloud-first organization, really figure a strategy and a blueprint, and that's what we're going to talk about today. What we at Informatica is you need to look at this holistically. You need to look at your overall cloud data management requirements, whether it's data quality, data cleansing, master data, of course, integration and connectivity. More should not mean less visibility. Right? This quote from Informatica customer Schumacher Group was more than 50% of their processes are now in the cloud. And a customer of ours who's running our Cloud MDM solution has said, having the data in any system used is central to adoption. Right? It's garbage in, garbage out. These are not new concepts, but the challenge of data fragmentation, which is what a lot of this cloud adoption is representing, is really bringing back to basics, these principles that you really need to think through as you really move more aggressively towards cloud platforms, cloud applications, and even cloud infrastructure. So the image of SaaS silos, we've heard about this. There's a lot that's been written over the years. What we're seeing right now is oftentimes the business experiences a bit of a trough of disillusionment, if you will. If you followed some of the Gartner technology, where you get this initial euphoria of a new application, you can initial usage, but then suddenly there's this challenge that you can't actually get the information you need to do your job. And the users are having to go into multiple systems to get the information they need to be productive. So this leads to a lot of the challenges, whether it's sales, finance, marketing, HR, you can see here. But IT, this leads to the sprawl challenge of how do we modernize, how do we synchronize, how do we bring down and manage our maintenance costs and our SLAs. In the database layer, it's compliance and governance. And you're going to hear a lot about that from Mark and David today. So a lot of common challenges around SaaS silos really represents why Informatica invested in building and delivering what we did in the cloud, which is what we call Informatica Cloud. It's actually an early investment of ours. We embarked on this journey to the cloud in 2005. The Informatica world that year we laid out a pretty aggressive vision and strategy for cloud, whether it's build cloud connectivity, building purpose-built cloud integration services, or evolve to a cloud platform. So let's go a little bit more about Informatica Cloud before I hand it over to David to talk about how this ties into what he's seeing with the ICC concept, the Integration Competency Center or Center of Excellence concept and lean integration. We're going to see in today's presentation, Informatica really invested early on in the concept of self-service, recognizing that a lot of the early adoption wasn't necessarily from the IT organization. We needed to be able to deliver cloud integration solution that is truly delivered as a multi-tenant service and really appealing to the end users who are often cloud application administrators, application owners, and not necessarily the folks that have been well-versed and trained in traditional information technologies. And that's what we're going to see in today's demonstrated by Mark. This quote here, one of our customers who has also been using some middleware technologies from other vendors was asked, well, why didn't you use that vendor to solve this cloud integration problem? And the person responded, this was actually at Dreamforce, he said, I'd be done before I even got an email to the developer of that technology what it is that I would need to start my project. So really validating this concept of self-service has been really what we've been focusing on. I wanted to mention before I hand it over to David was the concept of fairly repeatable patterns of integration that we're seeing in repeatable processes around cloud applications in your business. So often the early use cases have been connecting office to back office systems. So operator to order, quote to cash, product master, customer master integration, the front office application and a back office application, bringing marketing apps, all surrounding apps of your, say, your CRM environment like Salesforce.com, expand into the HR space where you're looking at employee master integration. And of course, this isn't just for cloud application to cloud application. A prime case for Informatica Cloud has really been around connecting on-premise systems to these new really sort of engagement where a lot of the adoption has been around the cloud applications. Think about is what are your processes? How are they repeatable? Can you take advantage of some templates to really jumpstart this? Does the vendor understand what are these patterns? What are these use cases? And can we accelerate the project by just really picking these up and running with them? And that's what you see in Dave's conversation about the principles of lean integration. So to finish off around the user experience, we've focused on trying to simplify what it is you need to do, but also providing the power and the complexity possibilities, but really trying to shield that from a lot of the users of Informatica Cloud. And see in the demonstration, delivering a 6-step wizard, letting the business really do a lot of the things they need to be productive and get the job done quickly. Our customer said to me, actually was at another Dreamforce presentation, he said, I had a field to Salesforce.com in 5 seconds. If it takes 6 months to get data to that field, that really eliminated the value of the application in the first place. So we're agile. We need an integration technology that can keep up. Increasingly, it's being recognized that the integration really is the application. And really the power and the performance and the UI of that app is going to be through the integration that you make. So the other of that is self-service is sometimes a scary concept. So what about IT governance? How sure that these who are doing things on their own aren't going to rogue? They're not going to bring the service down or bring the systems down. And that's a real concern. Also been focusing on, as you'll see in Mark's presentation, a lot of really the kinds of governance capabilities that you need: data security, data access rights and privileges, data administration, the ability to have a centralized deployment and roll out to different departments and divisions has been a really key focus for Informatica. And tying it back to what you're doing with the Informatica platform. So have a real strong interoperability with the core technologies you're probably already running in your centralized IT organization. Hand it over to you and take us through the lean principles and how you're seeing cloud adoption and cloud integration really tie back to what you've been about for the last few years?
Aaron, let's go on to the next slide here, and we'll show, it wouldn't be a David Lyle presentation without showing a picture of the integration Hairball. And you can just think of this as representing the complexity that we're faced with that has implications on both difficulties that IT is faced with that makes us all kind of reactive because of the complexity that's grown up over the decades, as well as, well, kind of this spawns the kind of shadow IT and business-driven move to software as a service to solve some of the problems on their own. Not an issue with the ZDNet quote, which I think was spot on maybe 18 months ago. I'm actually seeing in the last 18 months a huge growth in this cloud-first approach among IT that Darren mentioned. So that's what's happening, but go ahead and click to the next growth of if we pretend like this transparent white box is the on-premise complexity of the traditional systems that you've got, and around the edges, we've got all these new cloud software as a service applications that are growing up, where what I've found is in talking with most IT groups, they're only aware of typically about 10% of all the cloud applications that have actually been growing up as silos without the knowledge of IT. So they're only aware of 10% of those systems, at least at first. Let's go to the next slide, and is kind of getting across the point that, that's just a picture of the complexity of the technology. The implications of the complexity of that technology are the impact it has on the processes that you have to put together, because that complexity causes great business, the ability or inability to make agile changes has been brought up, and the skills required by the people. How can we attack this new world and you turn it to our advantage rather than have it make the hairball even worse? So if we go to the next slide, we look at the original Integration Competency Center book, back in 2005. Actually, I think more pertinent today. There's nothing about that original book that is out of date. In fact, more people are actually reading and finding they're ready for it today in 2011, 2012, now going into 2013, then back in 2005. The point I'm going to make, though, is as we have this circled at the right edge of this picture, that we drew that self-service idea as kind of the lighthouse, nirvana. If you don't have some goal out there in the future, you're never going to achieve it. Well, we really think back in 2005 that so quickly we were going to have an actual instantiation of that lighthouse available so easily by 2012, or really this has been available for some time and borne out by the many logos that you saw at the bottom of Darren's slide. But what this does is it allows the combination of self-service where the business or analysts or even IT can go out and solve these integration problems themselves in a very fast manner, while at the same time having improved governance, which those things typically you think of being at odds with each other. You can have one without the other. Well, Mark will prove in his demo coming up, you can actually get both. The agility that comes with self-service, along with actually improved agility, which comes with improved governance, because you're reusing things, you're able to see what's going on as it. So if we move to the next slide, this is, and go out one more here. This is like the recognition that at the bottom, if we look at this as integration architects or enterprise architects out solve this problem, that there's not thousands of unique works of art that we're doing from scratch as craftsmen over and over again and in custom point-to-point solutions. That there's a movement towards recognizing that really all integrations, all these lines between the boxes, especially now as they connect with software as a service applications out in the cloud, that they're actually a small number of patterns that are repeated over and over again, that if we recognize those patterns and create templates and patterns and wizards and six-step approaches like Darren just talked about, we can automate these patterns and create through sophistication the simplicity that allows for self-service. So if we go to the next slide, when we wrote the book on lean integration, in a way, the subtitle to this is an integration factory approach to business agility. What Mark is about to show you with these software as a service integration capabilities is truly an integration factory, where you follow these principles, where the main one is focus on customer value, and eliminate waste from the customer's perspective, not from IT's perspective. And then you can automate processes, empower the team, building in quality instead of testing quality in afterwards, and the fact that you start small and grow this as the use case that Mark will talk about in a second. These things spread virally. I'll just kind of not focus on all these different principles, grow it one more, because I want to emphasize the fact that lean thinking is not about eliminating resources. It's about using them more effectively. It's about using people's skills to not do things as individual craftsmen creating unique works of art, but instead focus on building of the assembly line or using the assembly line to create things. So the economics of creating one mapping or one integration is economically the same as creating 1,000 mappings of the same kind. So the next slide is an example of this. Let's just take, there we go. This is similar to the kind of six-step wizard that Darren just showed. You get the advantage of the business self-service. For instance, this could be one use case is publishing data out of a mission-critical data warehouse, for instance, can very often be the bottleneck causing a backlog for the IT organization to satisfy the business users who want to do kind of deep analysis and analytics of the data. Or maybe getting a cloud application, adding that column, as Darren mentioned, to a system with as much agility as it takes to add that column in Salesforce. And at the same time, giving the IT department the kind of governance and oversight of what's going on that allow you to get the best of both worlds. So if we go and build it out, this is just like when I go to the website, who happens to be a big customer of ours using this stuff. This is an example of how we go to their website to buy a laptop or a desktop. We got a form to fill out that is kind of a parameterized step-step process we follow that knows the pattern of these mappings, and we fill in how many CPUs do I want, how much memory, how much disk space, what other options do I want, and finally I click a button. That creates the mapping that allows me to either move the data and it's complete, or this could be something in the hybrid approach where you can kind of migrate this, what is exported into your on-premise Informatica Power Center world is another option. So the point is that this is an example of how you get the best of both worlds, increasing your agility and increasing your governance at the same time. So there, let's go to, don't want to take away from the star of our show, because really what comes here now with Mark talking about this use case and showing a demo is the proof of what Darren and I were just talking about. So you no longer have to suspend disbelief. You can actually
Awesome.
So take it away, Darren.
Dave, let's bring you in here, Mark. Before you dive into really showing us what this is about, why don't you talk about a little bit about your role, and then I know there's recently a large pharmaceutical organization that started with one department, got going with Informatica Cloud for some of their use cases around Salesforce and connecting to other systems. Then another group started using Informatica Cloud, and this was a long-time Informatica platform, Power Center shop. So a lot of the businesses started working with the cloud integration service for their SaaS application integration requirements. And you guys went in and had a broader conversation about how to roll this out and how to tie it back into what the Integration Competency Center needed, and how to really, deliver that single layer of integration across all these SaaS apps. So tell us more about that example, and then also about kind of how your role and how with customers before you take it away in the demo.
It's a classic use case where the gentleman in BU1 wasn't to get his project off the ground. He was bottlenecked, and they were giving him a 3 to 6 month lead time to even start to work with him. So he would go out and look for his own solutions, and he found Informatica Cloud. In 4 to 6 weeks time frame, he actually built an application out and proved it, and then brought IT, the government board, and showed them exactly what he did. And by that time, other people in the organization had heard about it, and then created a groundswell for new technology like this to be put out to end users. And IT, grabbed to it and saw the value of it, and saw the value of how they can empower folks around the enterprise while still controlling it, but also by building reusable content that in cases they had locked up in Informatica's flagship on-premise products. They could now deploy out into the cloud, as well as give folks the ability to build brand new reusable components. And we've actually seen this number of companies since this has happened. When the word gets out, it really spreads around, and people want it. And IT is also trying to get ahead of the curve and solve these problems and be ready for when their internal customers need it. Right, so it's very flexible. It's very, very deployable, and that's what you'll see in my demonstration today. Role is I do a lot of pre-sales, but I also do a lot of customer enablement. So I'm sort of in the forefront of a lot of these things happening, and really trying to educate customers about how flexible and powerful the environment can be. And what's beautiful is that it changes every 3 months. New things are added continually. So advancing functionality and usability to those end users. So what I'll tell you today is it come to me in January, you're going to see new features, functions, and abilities really make you happy. Anything else to point out there, Darren?
No, dive in, Mark. I think you've got control. So let's show it. Show it.
All right. Tell me when my desktop.
Got it.
And just going to walk through a quick slide deck. So the architecture of Informatica Cloud is very, very elegant. There is a cloud infrastructure that we'll use to our tasks to bring in reusable components, but it's all in. And what we'll do is we'll build things, mod things in the cloud, and then we click a run button, or we use a REST API, and that instruction set, in the case today, will get sent to a Cure agent on right, grab some data from on-premise, and it'll pull data out of, based on web service, some application, and the demonstration today will Salesforce. And it's very important to point out the flow of data. It's not going to the Informatica Cloud. It's actually going through infrastructure. Right? Very elegant, very, very simple to set up. And we're going to see a little bit more than just this. We're actually going to show we can empower a team. So remote group. And I've done this a number of times with customers. The remote group located anywhere in the world, anywhere in the company. It's an integration tool immediately. So we'll see today in about 10 or 15 minutes, we're going to power that team for a brand new Informatica Cloud, a child org from a Informatica Cloud org. Right? It gives us central control and management from an IT perspective. We'll add a new user, and we'll take a look at some of the use and the administration that Darren had pointed out earlier. We'll register the agent. It's going to be in the customer environment. We're going to migrate a pre-built task or a set of tasks from master org. Now you think about that master org. That's going to have our golden copies of all of our reusable integration components that one of our groups can pull down when they need to. And so we're going to see some powerful reusability. And we're going to actually go through and load our data and whatnot. But we'll come back and see how our managers or our IT groups or our governance groups can actually see what we're doing, right? Monitor, and then they can even help us. If we run into a problem, they can take a look. So it's pretty, in about 10 minutes, we'll see all that, 10 to 15 minutes. In high level, to really start off in Informatica Cloud Enterprise Edition Cloud org, and I'm going to roll out this org and manage it, but I'm going to give those users the ability to do what they need to do. And very easily, when the next group comes along, I can do the exact same thing again and again, again. And those users can reach back into my master org and pull reusable components. You know, when they can even go to the Informatica Cloud Marketplace, and there too, they have partners build things. Their internal IT team build things, and then they can even build things themselves with some of the reusable tools that we have for them. What's going to happen, and I'm going to jump right into it. So what I come into is Informatica Cloud, and it's an easy-to-use interface. And what we're looking here are all my tasks. So these can all be reusable, and a whole set of them, these different applications that produce different reusable components. So synchronization tasks is 6-step wizard based. About contact validation, a 5-step wizard to validate email addresses and customer addresses. A data replication service, a data quality assessment service, a Power Center service to bring in Power Center, a customization to build reusable templates. All of these can become reusable and then be modded by any one of my user orgs that I have. We're going to happen now. So I'm going to go to my administration tab. Actually, I'm going to change my view to my global user to my admin console. Much change when the screen pops back, but it gives the ability now to manage all my suborgs, and I have already built. What I want to do is build a new one today, so I'm going to go to my administrative console. Well, before I do that, I can look at any one of my orgs to see how they're performing. So if I click into my exec demo org, I can see that somebody ran something this week. No issues, don't have any problems, I don't have to worry about them. So I can through each org that way. But what I want to do is build one. So create a new org. We're going to call it the ICC. We'll just call it suborg. Give it a quick address. All right, we'll get New York. All right, very straight. Grab one more. We'll take a look at the other options we might need. We can put default email addresses. I'll skip that for now. Anyway, need the numbers. And what I want to do is create users in that org, so I can take a look at everything that I'm licensed for within the org. But now I'm going to jump into it, and we'll get user. So to be smart about it, I'm going to use best practices and create user groups. So I'm going to create operations people. I'm going to create developers. I'm going to create whatever it might be, so I can jump into my user group and actually quickly define a new group, and then assign users to it. We'll skip that A, and we're going to create a new user. Call him the info designer, and we'll do it. And the default, so we'll give him just a basic name, info. We'll make him a director. And we'll give a number, and we'll keep the default. So there's defined groups built in already. So as administrator or a designer, and I can, as seen in a demo, I can allow people to see it or not see data. So we'll look at everything as a default. Oh, well. All right, so we're using that user, so we'll create a new one. So now created, and I can auto email him, or I can email him and say, hey, your org is ready. That's it. Now he can go out and install. Well, let's log in as him. They're switching roles now. I receive my email, and as soon as I come in, I have instructions on what to do. And I walk through getting started, download your agent. I've already done that, so we're going to run that right now, but we'll take a look at my agents installed right now, and we'll see nothing installed. And very, I'm going to go to my installation process. Just time it. I probably spent 3 or 4 minutes setting up, and now I'm going to walk through the installation process. I'm going to just step through, and we'll take all the defaults in a second. A little bit. Darren, I should point out while I'm here.
On the agent can be downloaded too.
Yeah.
Any other deployment options around kind of the agent itself?
Great point. Well, while this is installing, we put Windows and Linux, and you can install your desktop. Typically, when people start with it, they actually install on their desktop to play with it, and then everything can be migrated to production org with just a flip of a switch. And it takes a few seconds. And as you see, 2 attempts to do this install, and it's my credentials at the end to marry me up to my Informatica Cloud org. And
so people are on the call, and there's quite a few. The agent is essentially a runtime engine. It's the same engine as Power Center. Is there anything else people need to know about the agent? As
Power Center. So that gives you the ability to bring in mappings and maplets and run them in the cloud, and vice versa. Bring a cloud and run on-premise. So now I register, right, with my Informatica Cloud org, and if I refresh the screen behind, all right, so now that I'm active, and we'll give it one more second, you'll see it start to pop up, right? So you'll see this. So it's a nice console, and if you have a proxy server and whatnot, but I've enabled a user in about, I'd say, minutes. So I'm upgrading. So whatever master org, what's very interesting, my master org has certain licensing capability. I've just gotten that, and now it's updating all those records. So doing its thing, let's go grab some content from my master org. So I came in as an administrator, so I have that ability now, and I'm going to go grab content. So I'm going to migrate, and on my org, now all these is going to be done by an administrator. So now I'm in that master repository, if you remember the diagram I just had, and it says, what do I add? So all things I showed you from that drop-down are available, including some of the sub-things like custom sources, templates, and connections and whatnot. But I'm just going to grab a bunch of data synchronization tasks. So this is kind of what I showed you a few minutes ago from that master org, and I'm going to grab all of these. Now, before I confirm, and it's going to say, I'm not going to bring in your security token and your password because this is a new org, and you don't have those rights. And so it's going to figure it. So I know what I did, and we'll say OK. And so it's reorg, and it's grabbing all the reusable content. It's all here. So if I get into my different tools, if I go to my data synchronization, done. If I go to data synchronization, all those tasks are here now. If they were schedules attached, if there were other components attached, they're going to be here. So if I go to my configuration, let's see what connections it brought over. It brought over 3 connections that belong to them. Let's see if it brought any reusable components. Brought some plugins. Plugins are, on the Informatica side, they're maplets. They're reusable components. Right? So, and let's see if it brought in any custom sources. Nope. Brought over connections. It brought over mappings, and it brought over reusable components. So now ready to go. Let's just see if our secure agent is up and running. So now it's up and running. start to do things. So if I jump back to my data synchronization, and let's say I want to load my data, and it's one of my examples. So what's a common thing to do with Salesforce? I load contacts and accounts, opportunities. Why not have one set of reusable objects that do that? Pre-mappings that I can grab. So let's take a look. I'm going to grab this one right here. Well, actually, let's do before. We'll redefine our connections. And we demo files in, and now remember, these came master org, so I might have to change them around a little bit. So what I'm going to do is edit, and name this one to my IC, and I'm going to give it a name. It knows where it's going to run on this secure agent, and we'll change the directory to ICC, and let's test it. I have an ICC directory, so that's what I have out there. I think it's colon ICC. Okay. To my local places, and I'm going to my task again. I'm going to take this particular one, and then six-step wizard. Now I can go out very easily for help. I can go to my community site for training. I can go to just the help guide. I can go to the YouTube channel for videos and learn how to do this in just a couple of minutes. But it's very easy. Apparent that it's very easy, a six-step wizard. So I'm picking up cert operation. It's already done that for me in this case because it's a map template. Where to come from, it already knows now because I changed that configuration. File available to me. I just mapped it and send that somewhere. Ooh, I didn't fix my Salesforce connection, right? So let's go to our Salesforce connection, and because we didn't remember it didn't bring our credentials over. I needed a little bit. I kept my security token right here. So grab that and paste it in, and then we'll give my. All right, now I can contact object. All right, no data. I can filter if I want to. So you'll know ease of use. I can filter any field within my objects. All right, whatever build a filter condition. I can use parameters. In our last release, we added parameter support for any of the mapping. Map it. Now it's already done. This is pre-built. So if the fields changed in my definition, I might have to remap. But let's actually clear them anyway and pretend, and we're going to watch to see what match up for us. All right, and are we missing anything? We're missing. This is contact object in Salesforce, so the name is required, and our email. So let's, everything else, our contact key, we were doing an upsert, so we need to drag that over. And we need to bring our name over, and we'll drag that onto our name field. All right, not everything is here. I didn't have to think about it. Now my step, if I want to, is automate this, so I can put this on a schedule, but I didn't bring any in, and we can build a quick one. And we'll say this is our hourly. And we can go Lee. Right, and then tick the different options that we want in that. And then we can, for pre-processing commands, maybe I want to save, or maybe I want to use the success file at the end of the process. All right, and the post-processing command that archives my success file off. Or maybe this is 5 million rows of data, and I want to use the bulk API to load it. Is he has flipping a switch right here. Okay, and I think that's all I want. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to save and run this.
So, Mark, just some people who are familiar with PowerCenter in the call. The thing I have here is, does the agent work as PowerCenter, or is it a client instance for PowerCenter? So just maybe a little more understanding of you've something. What's going to happen next?
It's a great question. So let me jump back to the slide that I have here and get rid of my artwork. So it is a product than PowerCenter is. So it is a separate installation, and we have lots and lots of customers that will run the secure agent on the same infrastructure as the Informatica PowerCenter instance, but it doesn't have to be. And the beauty of it, it gives you an architecture that can be dropped and deployed anywhere. But because the engine itself, the secure agent, is in essence a PowerCenter engine, you can power mappings and PowerCenter maplets in it. in reality, you have your designer, repository, and your execution engine for Power Center. Somewhere in your enterprise, they are separate. Because you can deploy an Informatica Cloud anywhere. They are physically separate, but they are. Think about it as a brother and a sister, and they're connected by metadata. Meta from a mapping can bring over, and vice versa. Does that make sense?
If I'm a Power Center user, I can build a complex mapping and then import it into Informatica Cloud, or vice versa. If I'm in Informatica Cloud, I can do what you just did and then export it and then bring it into Power Center.
Exactly. And let's take a look. We're actually going to do something like that when I pop back. So if I back to my interface, you notice that you see my information about the task. So let's click into it. And we see it took 27 seconds. There's a detailed Power Center log for the Power Center folks on the phone. But more importantly, my error log is right here. All right, so we're going to log in and see what because remember, this is the first time I'm loading. Open it in Excel. That's the paint. So Dan already knew that this failed because I put email address in there. You didn't see me do it today, but theoretically that's what would happen. Auto notifications were part of this. You already know on your iPhone, your iPad, your Droid. You already know, and then you can write in and take a look at what the errors are. So in this case, we have look at the different errors we have. An invalid email address, a required field missing, last name, invalid email address. Well, on data, I didn't even take a look at it. So let's go back to our task. And he's going to go right into my task. And we'll go to course. And let's take a look at the data. Open it up. It's only the first 10 rows of it. And if we look, coming in as a full name. Well, on the contact object, you need to put into the last name field. Well, I think I loaded into the first field, but don't I want to break these apart and make them first name and last name? And let's take a look at some of our those are kind of wacky, right? You see different formats of our phone numbers, and then else. Emails, that's an attention. You know that's going to fail in a Salesforce load, but it's good information. There's about an assistant. There's about my cell phone number. Well, I blew my Salesforce load away because I didn't know it. But because the Power Center is such a reusable, to build reusable components, why take advantage of that? Things we do available are like that. So as part of what I brought over from Informatica Cloud, let's cancel out for a second. I brought over a plugin, and it happens to be a Mallet. Right? But a Mallet, it can do all kinds of cool things. We take a look at this Mallet. We can just rub it. It can a full name. It takes in country. It takes in phone numbers, even faxes, and it actually spits out a split last name and first name, a formatted phone number, a validated and an invalidated email. A component that I can use anywhere across anything. I'm using a file today, so let's go take advantage of that. So I'm going to cancel, and we're going to go into our task. All right, load FF, and I can go to my mapping step. And then, so this is a repository. I can build my own repository. I can go out and grab more things from my master org, and I like the one that's in there called Field Value Plugin. Here, and we'll see the signature, right? So what I want to do is bring in my phone number. I'm going to bring in my, let's see, I need to bring in my country to the country. Bring in our email address to our email. And we have a fax number, we have a fax number. We have our phone, we'll bring our phone in. And we have the phone numbers, right? So it gives you the ability to do a number of phone numbers. And then on the other side of it, right, is the output part. So we have our email over here. Let's get rid of our full name over there. We'll get rid of our fax. And what is taken in the first name, alphabetical order. So we'll remove our phone. And I think we had our fax we'll bring over. Bring our fax. And then, right, so we need to have a valid email address, so let's go find our email address right there. And then Salesforce to capture data. And literally it's other data. So I'm going to grab that other information and plop it there. So we have our last name, our fax formatted, our email, our phone. Right? Save and run it. And then I have my Salesforce open over here, and we should have contacts loaded because nothing. Oh, there. So let's see what we got. All right, now that's up. Let's go back to Informatica Cloud. But all the data got loaded this time. So hop over to our, here, and we if we take a look at who is this? This is Karen Jones. Salesforce, and let's just go find. There's my Karen Jones. So look at Karen. So right, so our other data. Now I can put that in the cell phone number. Let's look at it. Let's take a look. Our name probably got broken up like it should have. Yep, Karen and Jones got broken up the way we wanted it to, so it can be used, And I mean, this of what we just did is that I was able to, in about 15 or 18 minutes, create a brand. So I empowered a new team to leverage Informatica Cloud. All right, so the user, and he could now go ahead and use himself. I installed the agent, and you saw that happen. I migrated pre-built tasks and reusable functionality. Just validated that our data. We actually saw the errors that happened, and validated that our our data got loaded. Now, the one thing we didn't do is from our master org. I'm going to pop back to open up a different browser.
And Mark, let me just bring you back in, Dave. I mean, we'll talk about some next steps in a moment, but is what you envisioned? I mean, how close is this to what you've been writing about? This whole concept of reuse and lean.
This is, you could say, if you embrace this for what it's capable of doing, this is a quick on-road into being lean without having to go through as much cultural and people kind of change. That's what Mark has been discovering with these different organizations, is this has been getting adopted virally and spreading quickly because it just makes sense. It's just kind of what we always wanted for years. And I think one of the things that will be a follow-on to, you said maybe this was the end of the series, perhaps because that's the end of this year, but we really have a WebEx on very subtle power that you've mentioned about the interoperability of the on-premise Power Center interchange of kind of built either on-premise and uploaded to the software as a service to create these kind of templates and patterns for self-service, as well as the creation of things in that self-service environment that can be downloaded to the on-premise. I mean, the power that this gives an integration competency center in with these different teams, either a shared service or a central service, is game-changing. So this vaulted us, or for the companies that are seeing this and kind of getting the power of this, is vaulting them forward into this lean integration world much faster than John Schmidt and I had originally anticipated.
So let's just bring it back to you to close out, Mark, and then I want to kind of draw you in for a close there, Dave.
Absolutely. Now, I just logged in as my administrator. So you see, if need be, I can take a look at what everybody's doing around the world. Now, on top of that, because our organizations aren't just looking at logging information, they need to know who did what, when, where. So you have different options underneath your organization. And if I click on Audit Log, you actually just see all the things that we just did. I updated, I ran, I did, I logged. So it's all here, right? All things that we just did. So you're from soup to nuts from a logging perspective. And Darren, it would be remiss if I didn't show one other thing, that customer org. So remember where I'm in here, right? Now, remember I said everything's living and breathing? Everything's different, and we have things happening all the time. Well, what happens if I needed to connect to a different application? Right? I could go out to connectors under my administration and see what's available to me. And I can click on any of these and download the connector, have a free trial, and play it for 30 days.
Can you show us a few more of those connectors there, Mark?
Absolutely. And you'll also notice ones created by partners that are specific to certain industries. It's a growing, living, breathing. Every 3 or 4 weeks, come and recheck it. You'll see new connectors available. Plus, there's other things available in the marketplace that you can download from.
How about that? So let's, to wrap, Mark, I'm just going to bring it back to a close out and talk about some next steps.
No, everything I just did today, if you think about it, it was done in just a couple of minutes. And just imagining enabling people in your organization around the world in seconds or in minutes, and they could be up and running, and they could manage, monitor everything they do, right? And just giving them the power.
Great. Bring it back to the PowerPoint and just talk about a few next steps. So if you can make me presenter, Teresa, I'll just go here to the next slide. Okay. So that was a good review, Mark. Thanks for. You really took us through a lot there. From, as you showed here, setting up a new this concept of parent-child orgs is really powerful. So you have one master Informatica Cloud environment and be able to spit out sub-orgs to your different groups, divisions, and so while you're doing that, retain that governance and control, so you can determine who can do what, when, and how. Really powerful in terms of what I like to call governed self-service, right? So self-service is a scary concept, but if you can throw governance into the mix, I think it's pretty powerful. So what are some next steps? First and foremost, we always recommend go and find out what SaaS applications you're running in your organization today. And Dave alluded to this point as well. I think you're going to be surprised. Informatica, we're a mid-sized organization, 1,000 or so employees, we traded company. We have over 30 SaaS applications that we're running, and more are coming into the organization every day. And what our IT organization has done is they've empowered the business groups by giving us a set of forms we need to fill out that help us with the security and the vendor selection in terms of SLAs, but we're still able to make some of our own decisions autonomously. So do find out what you're running today. It shocks me sometimes when I talk to CIOs of large organizations and they say, "Oh, we don't have any public cloud apps in our company. We only are running private cloud." I think you are misguided, or maybe you're not realizing what's really happening. So go out to the business, and in many cases you'll find out not only are you running Salesforce.com, but you're running many instances of Salesforce.com. And by the way, Informatica can help you manage that too with some of the powerful cloud master data management capabilities. So the second thing I would recommend is we do a white paper focusing on this new era of what we call hybrid IT. You can find that at informaticacloud.com. Do check out Dave's book, Dave and John Schmidt. It's a holiday read, maybe a nice little stocking stuffer.
And available electronic format too.
There's a plug for you, Dave. And one of the things we're starting to do with our larger, long-time Informatica customers, or anybody who's really interested in kind of create a blueprint for cloud integration, is we'll come in and do a workshop for you and with you, and to help you identify opportunities of how you can deploy Informatica Cloud in conjunction with what you might already be doing with the Informatica platform. I'm there on next steps, Dave or Mark?
Just to say that kind of gets into what I was alluding to with respect to the ability to use this software as a service capability along with your on-premise capabilities to be able to kind of upload, download, and basically create processes that give that self-service where appropriate, plus always having the governance of what's going on of that self-service, as you were mentioning. It allows you to deliver better, cheaper, and faster by creating this kind of customization or mass configuration that normally, obviously, with that faster and cheaper, you have to pick only two of those three. Well, with the game changing, you can get all three this capability, and I'd love to come in and talk with you about these workshops.
I just had one thing for the IT folks. Is I was on a call just on Monday with a large IT company, and the gentleman said, he said, we don't own the apps, and they wait for us. So they're finding tools themselves anyway. So for the IT folks, it's a smart thing to get ahead of the curve too.
Great point.
Cloud.
Great point. Let's empower them, but also keep it in the family, right? So it's a civilization conversation. So another next step, just as we wrap, you can go to informaticacloud.com, get a trial, and pretty much do what Mark did immediately, within minutes, especially if you're pretty savvy about the data and some of these kinds of technologies. So do visit informaticacloud.com and try that out. And then the thing I wanted to leave you with is the concept of reuse. We have a marketplace now, and you're going to see more and more content coming on the marketplace for cloud integration. We have a new template mall where you can go and pick up some of these quick starts, really, some of these prepackaged processes, and then you can even build your own. We have a whole set of tools on our developer community that you can use to build your own templates, and even, if you'd like to, publish them out to the marketplace. We have a connector mall. As we build more and more connectors, we put them on the marketplace, and increasingly we're seeing our partners, other developers, take advantage of our Java toolkit to build their own connectors and put them on the marketplace. So think about in 2013. So with that, I'd like to thank you all for attending, and hope we can help you with all of your cloud integration requirements in 2013 and beyond. So that concludes today's webinar.